We begin this news hour in the United States, where former President Donald Trump has refused to answer questions under oath about his business dealings in New York. The deposition is part of a long-running civil case brought by the state's Attorney General. It's looking into whether the Trump organization misstated the value of prized assets like golf courses and skyscrapers, misleading lenders and tax authorities. It's reported two of Mr. Trump's adult children, Donald Jr. and Ivanka, testified in recent days. Well, all that comes in the middle of a crucial week for the former president, who also had his Florida home searched by the FBI. Many Republicans have condemned the move and blamed Joe Biden. But the White House says the president was not given advance notice and in fact heard about it from public reports. Federal agents entered Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence on Monday night. The White House says the Justice Department conducts investigations independently.
You know, the president and the White House learned about this FBI search from public reports. We learned just like the American public did yesterday, and we did not have advance notice of this activity. President Biden has been very clear from before he was elected president and throughout his time in office that the Justice Department conducts its investigations independently. He believes in the rule of law. In this White House, there's no place for political violence in this country. People have the right to raise their voices peacefully, but we would strongly condemn, as we have many times from here. The president has condemned any efforts to plan violent behavior of any kind. And so we would ask Americans to remain peaceful in this time. Again,
White House press secretary there. Well, this is the first time a former U.S. president's home has been searched by law enforcement, and supporters of Mr. Trump are upset. They're demanding an explanation from the Justice Department.
I wish I could explain what happened between the FBI and Trump. I don't think there is an explanation. Nobody knows. That's the question of the day. And not only that, the way it was performed was it was done terribly, it was wrong, and I don't believe that there is going to be any credence to it.
The FBI, they had no reason to do this. This is just trying to persecute Donald Trump and try and find something on him, which they won't. He's the most honest president and the best president we've ever had.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Arise International correspondent Faith Orr, who is in New York. Good to see you, Faith. So bring us up to date with what's happened today in New York. Donald Trump was supposed to answer questions and he didn't.
That's exactly right. He went into the office of New York State Attorney General Letitia James. It's part of a long-running investigation. It's actually a civil case. And basically, the Trump organization is accused of inflating the value of their assets. And that's for various reasons: to attract better loans, to attract better investment, and also for tax purposes. So he went in. The deposition was one of the last parts of the investigation, which has been ongoing for about 3 years. Now, he was expected to answer some questions, given that he has been so vocal about these things in public. But his legal team advised him that that would not be the best way to approach this, that he could incriminate himself if he answered questions. So he did what every American citizen has the right to do, and he pleaded the fifth when he went in there. He didn't answer any questions. He was under oath. So anything that he said in that deposition could have been used against him in any criminal investigation. Now, although this is a civil case, there is also a parallel criminal investigation by the Manhattan District Attorney, which is running against Trump as well. So if he'd answered questions there, it could have been used in the criminal case, and he just did not want to implicate himself.
And of course, Faith, testimony from him would have marked a real turning point in that investigation, wouldn't it? So what happens next?
Well, he said that he's never understood previously why people would plead the fifth if they're innocent. And he is really hitting out against New York's Attorney General Letitia James. He's accused her of being racist. He's accused her of using this all for political purposes. Now, the investigations will continue with or without his testimony. We know that two of his children testified in the previous few days. We don't know if they pleaded the fifth. We know when Eric Trump testified some time ago, he pleaded the fifth on around 500 occasions. So there may not be any evidence from the Trumps on this, but Letitia James says that her office has already gathered a lot of evidence, and there could be a lawsuit, there could be criminal charges. I mean, it's unclear exactly what's going to happen next, but these are the possibilities. We know that no US president has ever faced criminal charges in or out with office, but that is a possibility now with the several cases that are running against Trump.
And as you hinted there, Faith, all this adds to the sheer weight of legal jeopardy that Mr. Trump is facing right across the board. And that brings me to that raid on his property in Mar-a-Lago. Have there been any new developments regarding that FBI search of Mr. Trump's house in Florida?
So we know that the Republicans are absolutely outraged about this, lots of them calling to defund the FBI and to demand answers, to demand that the Department of Justice reveals why this search took place. We've heard from the White House today, because again, Republicans have been blaming Biden for this raid, but the White House has said that they didn't even know the raid was taking place, that they only heard about this raid when it was publicly notified in public reports on the news. That was, they found out at the same time as everyone else found out. Now, it all centred around 15 boxes that were taken from the White House. There's no real dispute that those boxes were taken there in the basement of Trump's home. But the search was much wider than that. It was the whole residence, including the private quarters and a safe. Now, that is one of the, the FBI haven't said exactly what they found. The Department of Justice haven't yet commented. So, but the Democrats have said that they're actually concerned that it will give Trump a boost if he wants to run and declare for 2024. There is this concern that this will actually help him in that, because his supporters are so upset about what's happened. Some of them have even called for a civil war.
And you talked there about, very interestingly, these run-ins boosting Mr. Trump's chances of a potential run in 2004 or not. All this, of course, as Mr. Trump released a video, which is the clearest indication yet that he's planning on another run for the presidency, or is at least edging towards it. And we've got about 30 seconds.
I mean, Trump, even before he was president, always said he was going to run. So the fact that he's indicating he's going to run again doesn't mean he will, doesn't mean he wasn't. This is a man that always likes to keep people hanging, but there are thoughts that if he's going to declare, he might even do so before the November midterms, which would be unprecedented, which would really set out very early his intentions for 2024. And as I said, it feels like all of these things are against him. When it comes to his base, has only galvanized his base, has only means that he will get more support from his key base.
Faith, thanks very much indeed for that update. Faith Orr, Arise International correspondent, talking to me there from New York.